Before we start our show today, a quick message for Club 1999ers and of course subscribers of my weekly intelligence briefings. You're all aware that the platform we're using before for Club 1999, which was Yahoo Groups, has been shut down. And what we have done is that we're in the process of migrating everybody into Google Groups. Now, the process has not gone as quickly as we intended, because Google Groups has not allowed us to transfer everybody at once. So I've had to do it a few at a time. And currently I'm slightly over the halfway mark. 561 members have been successfully migrated. I have about 400 to go. And I hope to complete this exercise very soon. Thanks in advance for your patience. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank those 3 individuals who have already made their semi-annual contributions towards the Kumekucha brand. Thank you very much. God bless you. More so because you have kept your commitment at a time when we all know that things are very difficult financially for many people. Now we just have 3 more days before December ends, and the period for this contribution ends. And I'd like to appeal to the other members not to hesitate even to make small contributions. They'll go a long way towards improving what we're doing here. They'll go a long way towards helping us in our noble mission for a better Kenya. I have included the details for making the contributions on your screens. Happy New Year in advance. I wish you a very prosperous and a very productive 2021 in advance. Now, on to our show today. Karibu sana. I believe it was sometime in April 1989, and my political lecturer was in very high spirits. Many days after he had had lunch with 2 of his closest friends. Indeed, his only close friends. It was a long lunch they had as frequently as their schedules could manage. And it was more than a lunch. Usually, it was an intense political analysis update session. But for our purposes today, I will zero in on a prediction that came out of that analysis session that not only floored me, but one that I dismissed immediately. My political lecturer told me that they were all in agreement that President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi was about to appoint a man called George Saitoti as the 5th Vice President of the Republic of Kenya. Saitoti had only been nominated into Parliament 6 years earlier, and then promptly appointed to the powerful finance docket. He was the Minister of Finance. Now he was going to be appointed Vice President. It didn't make sense. I was young those days, and many times I analyzed most of the information I received in seconds. If it didn't make sense in seconds, I dismissed it. A sharp contrast these days, when I can chew on something for months, sometimes even years. Barely a month later, after this conversation took place, and I remember I felt pity for my political lecturer, thinking that these were just old men who had been overtaken by the times. Barely a month later, in May 1989, this prediction came to pass, and George Saitoti was appointed the 5th Vice President of Kenya. How did you and your friends work this one out? Did you have any inside information? I asked my political lecturer the next time we met. His response? You've got to know how to read the politics. We had no inside information. We simply read the politics correctly, he said. Now, today, we're going to attempt to read the politics correctly, to predict who the next Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya will be. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that all major prospective presidential candidates are courting a certain community. They are spending a lot of time and resources in their campaigns and in their efforts to be seen as being popular with a certain major community in Kenya. That community, of course, is the House of Mumbi. Deputy President William Samoei Ruto started very early to make what most interpreted as inroads into the president's backyard. And even more interesting, virtually all names that have been thrown around as possible running mates for the deputy president have hailed from the House of Mumbi. We had names like Sabina Chege, the Murang'a women's representative, in those days when she was in Team Tangatanga. The name of Kimani Ichung'wah, the Kikuyu legislator, also came up, amongst others. And the latest names are those of Mwangi Kiunjuri and another man called Mwangi Wairia, both from Central Province, whom analysts are saying are quite likely to be the deputy president's running mates. Potential deputy presidents in 2022. With Raila Odinga, it has even been more fascinating because very recently the name of Peter Kenneth has come up very strongly as a likely running mate to Raila Odinga in 2022. Now, what made me sit up and pay even closer attention is the recent developments linked to the upcoming gubernatorial by-elections in Nairobi. Because I imagined the name which would be put forward immediately, almost automatically, would be that of Peter Kenneth for governor of Nairobi. More so because that was the original idea of the powerful within the Jubilee Party in 2017. That was before a man called Mike Sonko came along and messed up their plans. But instead, what we have seen is clear hesitation on the part of Peter Kenneth and his handlers. Hesitation to throw his hat into the ring quickly. One way of interpreting this hesitation is that there are bigger plans for Peter Kenneth. And because there are bigger plans, much bigger plans for this politician, naturally, every move he makes between now and the 2022 polls has to be weighed and analyzed and reweighed very carefully. Of course, he can use the post of Nairobi governor for more visibility and to put him in pole position to increase his popularity with the people before 2022. But then there's a problem. What if he vies for this particular seat and then he loses? That will greatly harm his plans, or the plans we think have been set for him for 2022. This is politics. And even if he wins narrowly, a very bruising battle for governor of Nairobi, that could still harm him as a candidate for 2022 as a running mate to Raila Odinga. And so, maybe the best option is for him to stay out of this race. However, that could also have consequences, because politics is perception. Maybe there are a lot of voters who will assume that this particular candidate is frightened, scared of facing the Nairobi voters again. Because in 2017, he ran as an independent candidate and garnered only 42,935 votes, when the winner, Mike Sonko, got over 800,000 votes, and the runner-up, Evans Kidero, got 696,888 votes. Peter Kenneth only got 42,935. And although he came in third, that was a very distant third. And so, based on this information, opponents of a possible Raila-Peter Kenneth ticket may hit back and criticize and say that Raila's running mate is a non-starter politically. So there are all those considerations. And in my view, it is a very difficult decision to make. But back to where I started. This hesitation clearly tells us something is happening. Something is up politically, especially linked to the political future of Peter Kenneth. There is another reason why the name of Peter Kenneth cannot be ignored in the run-up to the 2022 polls. You will remember in 2017, the whole idea of having Peter Kenneth as the governor of Nairobi was to use the post as a stepping stone for Peter Kenneth to take over from President Uhuru Kenyatta as the leader of the House of Mumbi politically in Kenya. And you can be sure that was not a casual decision. No way. And because it was taken after very careful consideration, it would make sense for it to be revisited now that things have changed or things did not go according to plan. However, the plan can still be brought back on track. But why is the House of Mumbi so important to the main contenders for the presidency in 2022? Is it just about succession politics? No. Actually, even if it is about succession politics, the main reason has to be numbers. You see, the House of Mumbi has numbers. No serious contender for the presidency can ignore voters from the House of Mumbi. Now, I've heard handlers of Raila Odinga saying that William Samoei Ruto needs the House of Mumbi much more than Raila does. They have emphasized that Raila can win the presidency without a single vote from the House of Mumbi. That may be true, but then it's also true to say that no serious contender for the presidency can afford to leave the entire block of votes from the House of Mumbi to the opponent. that would be political suicide. And so, any good strategist would want to at least split the vote coming in from the House of Mumbi. And in my view, assuming nothing changes between now and 2022, actually, we may have a split vote this time from our Kikuyu brothers and sisters. Because for starters, it is highly unlikely that members of the community residing in the Rift Valley will fail to cast their vote for the candidate who comes from that particular area of the country. Very unlikely. And I think the reason is obvious. Those in the community who hail from that particular area would not want to provoke the people of the Rift Valley. And we have already seen very strong, consistent support for the candidature of William Samoei Ruto coming from members of the House of Mumbi residing in the Rift Valley. Bottom line, reading the politics, it would seem obvious that the next Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya will hail from the House of Mumbi. And we can even dare to go further. In my view, it is highly likely that that particular candidate will be a woman. Notice I said highly likely. And here's why. We know, at least those who are very closely observant, that the Deputy President favors a woman running mate in 2022. Because this would give him a lot of political advantage. Many voters are women. And although we still have a problem in Kenya with voters, women voters, voting for a fellow woman, everything changes when the candidate is a man and the running mate is a woman. And because of this, the other side could just also make a decision to have a woman running mate to neutralize any advantage the Deputy President's side may have. And that's just my view, based on information I have and based on my attempt to read the politics. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.